Tonight, the 7 Eyewitness News I-Team reveals a list of priests accused of sexual misconduct that was concealed by the Buffalo diocese, never meant to see the light of day. Good evening. The list, quite different from the one released to the public by the diocese back in March. That list contained 42 names. The secret list has more than 100. In his exclusive report, 7 Eyewitness News I-Team Chief Investigator Charlie Specht details tonight the lengths the diocese went to in order to hide this list from your eyes.
When the Diocese of Buffalo in March revealed the list of 42 priests who were removed from ministry, were retired, or left ministry after allegations of sexual abuse of a minor, Bishop Richard Malone billed it as a historic coming clean of decades worth of secrets.
Victims often find themselves kind of liberated and empowered to come forth, if they've not yet come forth, if they see in print the name of their abuser.
But new evidence obtained by 7 Eyewitness News from inside the diocese's secret archives shows the true scope of abuse was much larger than Malone publicly let on, with a total of not 42, but 106 accused priests on the church's original draft list. But a second internal document indicates that may be understating the problem. A database of diocesan employees who have been accused of criminal, abusive, or inappropriate behavior, or who have been the victims of such behavior, reveals 324 names, mostly priests, but also deacons, nuns, and lay employees. Records show church officials made exceptions that allowed them to remove the majority of accused priests from the final list. That resulted in a much lower number for the public to digest, and it also allowed Bishop Malone to say that no accused priest was still in active ministry, even though in multiple cases that was not true. In addition to the 42 accused priests Malone identified in March, records show church leadership had full knowledge of another 64 accused priests, whose names were removed before the list was made public. 25 of them were religious order priests like Franciscans and Jesuits. 19 were diocesan priests who were dead but accused by, as the diocese put it, only one victim. And 20 more were accused but kept off the list because they did not fit the diocese's carefully crafted criteria for disclosure.
The Catholic diocese is not being transparent. They are hiding. They are deflecting. They are coming up with their own excuses, internal excuses by these categories. There's no categories. There's allegations. And if there are allegations, there should be investigations being conducted.
Barry Covert is an attorney representing a victim of Father Fabian Mariansky. Stephanie McIntyre was a 15-year-old at St. Patrick's Church in Barker when she says Mariansky began 7 years of abuse that not only robbed me of my youthful innocence, but destroyed my family. McIntyre hired a lawyer and reported the abuse to the diocese in 1995. The diocese suspended Mariansky but returned him to ministry in 2000, and he was assigned to a church in Clarence until recently. When creating the list of 42 accused priests, diocesan officials wrote, "We did not remove him from ministry despite full knowledge of the case, and so including him on the list might require explanation."
That is as cowardly of a document and an entry as I could ever imagine. We have an adult that was a child when she was abused. The appropriate thing to do would be to not only remove him, but try to investigate and see whether on top of my client, there are other victims out there that he has abused.
Instead, Bishop Malone let Mariansky continue in ministry at Nativity of the Blessed Virgin Mary Church in Clarence until May 6th, when McIntyre told her story to the Buffalo News. Reporter Jay Tokaz said Malone told him he was not aware the allegation against Mariansky involved a minor. But diocesan records obtained by the I-Team show church lawyers informed Malone about the Mariansky case when he first became bishop in 2012. That entry was part of a confidential 300-page black binder of diocesan secrets that includes stories of sex abuse, theft, and other pending matters inherited by the bishop when he took office. Mariansky initially denied the allegations to the news, but then admitted he had sexual relations with McIntyre, but after she was an adult. This week, he again denied the allegations to 7 Eyewitness News. But the document prepared for the bishop by diocesan lawyers specifies that she said she was 15 when the abuse started. Father Mariansky's faculties were temporarily suspended, and he was on leave from the diocese, the document states. He has since been returned to ministry.
What the heck was he doing at my parish? Why did the bishop let him come to my parish and serve, and nonetheless a parish with a Catholic school. It makes no sense to me.
Bill Ogilvie is a father of 3 whose daughter was an altar server with Mariansky at Nativity. He was shocked and angered to learn that Bishop Malone allowed the priest to stay in ministry without notifying the parish.
I never would have allowed my daughter to serve on the altar with a priest who had these sort of allegations in his past. It's so far beyond ridiculous. It's so hard to believe that these things are actually happening.
In May, Ogilvie wrote a letter to Bishop Malone seeking an explanation. He says he never got a response and sees this as a sign that Malone has not been transparent.
He had the opportunity to do that when he released those original 40 names that obviously should have been quite a few more names. But because he didn't do that, because he still shrouds the diocese in secrecy, he has done no favors to any of the constituents within his diocese.
But Mariansky isn't the only priest the diocese kept off its list for what Ogilvie sees as questionable reasons. Diocesan officials kept another current priest off the list because he, quote, credibly denied the claims made by a woman that the priest made her sons parade around in their underwear. But then they gave a more urgent reason for not disclosing the allegation to the public. He is still functioning as a pastor and so should not be on the list. Another priest, Father Joseph Rappel, who is accused of showing pornography to a 14-year-old and who has since been accused of sexual abuse, was kept off the list because, as diocesan officials put it, he does not fit our categories, and so we would have to change them to include him.
And the church now is claiming that they're not going to include this priest who showed pornography to a 14-year-old because they would have to change their own internal categories. Who cares about their categories?
7 Eyewitness News has obtained documents that refer to a database created by Sister Regina Murphy, who was then the diocese archivist and who now serves as chancellor. The documents summarized confidential files and allegations as of May 1st, 2017. A database has been created that lists all persons who have been accused of criminal, abusive, or inappropriate behavior, or who have been the victim of such behavior, the document states. The list includes 324 total names, 202 diocesan priests, including former priests, 44 religious order priests, 61 laypersons or non-ordained employees of the church, like Catholic school teachers, 7 deacons, and 7 women religious. A church official confirmed the context of the database, but said these offenses are not exclusively sexual and also appear to include violations against both minors and adults, which explains this higher set of figures. Memos between Sister Regina and Bishop Malone indicate she created the database last year in locations at diocesan headquarters that were nicknamed The Well and The Secret Archives. The memos state that no government agency is to have full access to the secret documents without a court order or subpoena. Sister Regina tells Malone in a 2017 memo that in the cases of 7 particular priest files, we are awaiting our lawyer's confirmation that these materials can be shredded. After victims called the diocese, wondering why the names of various priests were not on the list, those same lawyers urged Malone not to alter the original list of 42. Church attorney Lawler Quinlan wrote in a March 20th email, "This is probably the first of many complaints about the list, not including every priest against whom we have ever received a complaint. We need to weather this storm for a while without changing our list." Bishop Malone said he agreed, and in another email hinted that the list was perhaps not as complete as the diocese wanted the public to believe. Tom Beecher, a Buffalo lawyer who is one of the bishop's key supporters, wrote a letter to the editor to the Buffalo News on March 12th, saying the great majority of priests have never harmed a soul. He said a victim advocate's claim that the real number of abusive priests was double or triple the 19 who were accused at that time was, quote, unsubstantiated and speculation. Great letter to the editor, Auxiliary Bishop Edward Grosch wrote in an email. Bishop Malone responded, saying, except that we know there are more names than Tom and others would like to think.
The bishop had a chance to right the ship and to pick up whatever credibility he had left. I think we were all willing to let him do that. But now with the revelations over the past couple of weeks, he claims he wants to be a good shepherd and that a good shepherd never leaves his flock. But if he really cared about the diocese and wanted to see the diocese rise from its ashes, which is where it is right now, he would shepherd the transition to a new leadership.
Now, in response, the spokeswoman for the Diocese of Buffalo released a statement saying that it, quote, conducted an extensive, deliberate, and careful process of releasing the names of diocesan priests about whom we have received substantiated allegations of abuse, a standard of transparency to which we will continue to hold ourselves moving forward. They declined to comment further, citing the ongoing investigation by the state attorney general.
Just incredible reporting once again, Charlie. Any update on that investigation by the attorney general tonight?
Well, that investigation moves forward, in fact, and we are now hearing rumblings that the federal government may be getting involved as well.
All right, Charlie Specht, thank you very much.